evening and welcome into Sportszone. I'm your host, Justin Ballou. Well, it was a heartbreaking finish last weekend for the Mean Green football team as they fell to UTSA 31-27 on the final drive of the game. This weekend, UNT will look to bounce back when they take on Western Kentucky. Here to break it all down are our analysts Matthew Wagner and Brendan O'Donnell. Guys, let's talk about that UTSA game. 31-27. Pretty impressive of a final score, but lots of good, lots of bad, and lots of ugly in this game for the Mean Green. Matthew, what ultimately went wrong?
First of all, I got to call Dr. Heimlich because that was a choke for the UNT Mean Green. I mean, a choke. I mean, the last play, they had it, they were winning, and then they blow it, right? So what went wrong? Their defensive structure, right? You have 30 seconds left in the game. You're winning the game, and you go man defense? Do zone. You have a better chance of stopping them. That was not the best scheme they could have gone with, and that's kind of what ended up costing them the game.
Yeah, we were bound to lose that game. The whole game, it looked like we were playing from behind, and we weren't. It was a close matchup the whole time. So why did it feel that way? It's because we had 22 rushing yards in that game.
Gosh.
For a rushing team, 21 attempts for 22 yards, you can't win a game like that. And props to Austin Ani. I thought he played one of his better games for sure for the season. I mean, he had nothing else. He had no other help, so he was just throwing dimes the whole time, throwing deep balls over and over to keep us in this game. And he brought it close, but we lost to the clock in the end. We beat ourselves on defense, so it's a tough one.
But as Matthew said, UNT had this game in the bag on the final drive of the game. And you know what also went wrong? There should have been a flag on that final play, guys. It was an offensive pass interference in the end zone after that crazy one-handed catch was not called. UTSA obviously scored the touchdown and went up. But as you mentioned, Brendan, 25 rushing yards for UNT in that game is not going to do the job. So were there any moral victories, though? Because the scoreboard shows 31-27, which is a close game. So, Matthew, what were the moral victories, if there were any in that one?
Honestly, I guess if you kept it close, right? I think that's the only thing you think. But also, honestly, moral victories don't count for squat in this world. You know, do I get a moral victory every time I wake up? No, I don't. So, I mean, it's not going to count for much. But, I mean, as long as you kept it close, I guess that's the only thing you can get out of that.
I liked the progress some of our defense made in this game. We had 4 sacks in this game compared to 2 for UTSA. And we're giving up 34.5 points per game. We only give up 31 to the Conference USA leaders right now. So moral victory, yes, but I think if we won this, we seed ourselves in the Conference USA championship game right away. But now it's going to be a bit of a stretch.
It may have been a moral victory, but it ultimately goes in the loss column. So, Matthew, what does this loss now mean moving forward?
It means essentially you got to go perfect, right? If you want to win CUSA, you got to go perfect in these last couple of games. Yeah. You know, we'll probably preview them here in a second, but Western Kentucky, they're going to be a tough team to face, right? You know, they're favored by 10 points coming into this one, and the defense is going to have to step up, and the rushing game really going to have to step up after this last game.
Brendan, does UNT still have a chance at winning CUSA after this loss?
We have a chance. If we lose to Western Kentucky, I think it's over at that point.
Yeah,
for sure.
But seeing how Western Kentucky's only 1 game ahead of us, they also lost to UTSA as well. So if we beat them, we have the tiebreaker between that as long as we match their record by the end of the season. So beat Western Kentucky, and either we have to win out or at least win just as many games as they do the rest of the season.
Yeah. And this is a high-flying Hilltoppers offense. Matthew, how does UNT stack up, I guess just defensively against this Western Kentucky offense, because that's going to be the key here?
Their main key for Western Kentucky is their running game. We saw that last week. They're going to have to shut down that running game. And I think they can do that, right? If you blitz the ball, you pressure the quarterback, it's going to work out for UNT pretty quickly.
How do we stack up, Brendan?
I think we stack up pretty well. I'm hoping our defense can get to their quarterback, Austin Reed, throughout the game. We showed up in this one. We were able to actually put some pressure on UTSA. I think, yeah, if our rushing attack doesn't come back this game, though, it's going to be tough. We do need to match this team in their rushing game as well. They've got a really great offense and a better defense than us as well, so the defense really does need to step up.
And you can't rely on Austin to keep throwing dimes like he does.
Exactly.
You cannot do that because eventually he's going to throw 1 or 2 picks, and that's not going to help.
He's
us
got a
all.
rocket arm, but it only goes so far.
Exactly.
You can't ask him to throw for 30 yards on every pass.
Exactly.
Well, shout out to Ridge Tejada in the secondary for UNT, still leading the nation in passes broken up through 8 games, so very impressive there. Who needs to step up, Matthew? And if Ridge Tejada's a guy, let me know.
Yeah, no, Ade, I think, Ade, his rushing yards were, again, not great, but he's rushing for over 500 yards this season, and that's great, right? They need him to break in those lanes and get through those gaps, and if they can do that, this game is going to be easily winnable for the UNT Mean Green.
I'm going to go with Mason Richards, our linebacker, and Roderick Brown, our defensive tackle. Both of them leading this team for our sacks. Richards has 6.5 so far, and Brown has 4. I'm really looking to these guys to keep pressure in this game, to stop the run game. I mean, these are some of our stars on defense. And our defense has been lackluster against some of the top teams, some of the better teams in the league. So we need our leaders to step up and hopefully promote everybody else to follow up with them.
Well, UNT looks to get back on track this Saturday when they head to Western Kentucky to battle the Hilltoppers. Make sure to catch that game on Stadium. Coming up next, we're going to break down the Dallas Cowboys and their upcoming game this weekend. Stay with us.
We know what it's like to go to war, to sacrifice for what you believe is right. We know what it's like to be away from our family and to lose our friends. We know what it's like to bravely step forward. We see those who are redefining what it means to serve, what it means to be a patriot, and what it means to be a hero, to selflessly serve our communities, to step up to an unknown situation, and to save lives. From our nation's injured veterans to the faces of courage across America today, we see you. We support you. We salute you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Tira la basura en el bote. En el bote, en el bote, en el bote. Oiga mi amigo, Don Messi, Texas. Oiga mi amigo, Don Messi, Texas. Tira la basura en el bote. En el bote, en el bote, en el bote. Tira la basura en el bote. En el bote, en el bote, en el bote. Somos papi chulo, recuerden, Don Messi, Texas, yo.
I call you and say, I'm with the IRS. You owe back taxes, and if you don't pay today, you're going to jail. You can fix this by sending cash. Did you actually believe me? Too smart to fall for it? Well, last year, Americans paid $100 million to guys like me. 1 in 6 people were scammed. Can you believe it? Well, you shouldn't. I just made that up, too. You are a little gullible.
The Dallas Cowboys are back on track after a 24-6 win over the Detroit Lions last Sunday. The Cowboys will look to keep the momentum rolling this weekend when they host the Chicago Bears. Here to talk some Dallas Cowboys football are analysts Fazan Amer and Nick Ogele. Guys, let's get into that Lions game real quick. Dak Prescott, obviously his first game back from that hand injury. What did you see from Dak, Fazan, and how do you think he looked?
Both conversations this season regarding the Dallas Cowboys have stemmed from quarterback play, albeit Cooper Rush or Dak Prescott. In his first start, where he played 100% of the snaps this season, the Dallas Cowboys won by 18 points. In that game, Dak Prescott posted a 78 QBR, a 76% completion percentage, and had a passer rating of 113.3, which ranked 6th amongst all quarterbacks in Week 7. The rhetoric around Dak Prescott seems to be that no quarterback has done less with more, which is a narrative that doesn't hold validity in itself to me, as Dak holds the highest team points per game since 2020 amongst all quarterbacks with 30.7. The quarterbacks under him are Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Josh Allen. The Dallas Cowboys' lack of success in recent history is more to do with bad coaching than it is with bad quarterback play.
Yeah, the Cowboys are certainly happy to have Dak back, obviously. Nick, what did you see from him last weekend?
I can't disagree with that last statement. I do like how everything's playing out in our offense. But with those numbers said, the numbers are very good. They always are with Dak, but that also has to do with the volume at which they have him throwing the ball all the time. And he does not, this was a week for him to knock the rust off, and that's exactly what he was trying to do. A couple of those plays at the beginning of the game, you saw him miss route wide receivers that were wide open and stuff like that, which is going to happen. You was out, it's a hand injury on your throwing arm. Those things are going to happen. I mean, I like how we did end up realizing we have two very capable running backs in that second half and doing what we had to do to beat that Lions team, who didn't put up any points last week, but we let him get 6, of course. We got to make it interesting.
Yeah, and only one touchdown from Dak Prescott in that ball game. But how about this Dallas defense, guys, stepping up yet again? Fazan, what has been the most impressive part of this defense so far?
The impressive part of the defense is that the takeaways aren't going anywhere as many people believed it would. This is how they stacked through Week 7. They're first in QB pressures, they're first in sacks, they're second in team points allowed, they're third in red zone touchdowns allowed, fourth in takeaways, and fifth in weighted DVOA. The Dallas Cowboys defense under Dan Quinn have been the backbone of the Dallas Cowboys.
What do you think? Nick.
Absolutely, that defense is real, and I'm so glad that they are staying that way throughout whoever we play. They step up to the challenge. Our offense kind of feels like they play down to whoever we are playing, like the Lions right there. They only allowed 6 points. I mean, what's left to say about that? The numbers are there on the screen. They are the real deal, the genuine article. You know, top 5 defense in this league.
And another game with 5 turnovers. I mean, look at that. Every single week in and week out, this Dallas defense is just dominating teams. Let's assess this overperforming NFC East division, guys, because the Eagles are still undefeated. Obviously had the win over the Cowboys earlier this season. And how about the Giants at 6-1? Who saw that coming? Where does Dallas stack up in this division, Falzon?
I mean, it's important to understand that this division is the highest winning percentage in NFL since realignment occurred in 2002.
Wow.
I mean, all 4 teams are combined 20-7 and 16-3 outside of the division. I think it's a very real possibility that all 4 teams within the division could be playing meaningful football come January.
Yeah, I think that's no doubt with how these teams have been playing so far. Nick, where do you think Dallas ends up when all is said and done with this division?
I think we could end up very well being at least second. At least second. I don't believe in what clearly the Giants' defense is real. The Giants' defense is real, but that's about. I mean, Daniel Jones is proving himself. But name 3 receivers right now who play for the Giants.
Richie James, Kadarius Toney just got traded.
Stop. You did your research. Okay. They do not have enough weapons at receiver is what I'm trying to say. Now, Saquon Barkley has revitalized himself and come back to life, and the Eagles are 6-0. I can't begin to break them down and tell you all that they've done. But we have enough. We have the weapons that we need. What we need, Dak's back.
That's right.
We need to get back in this.
Now let's get into this Bears game this weekend, because the Bears, coming off a little bit of a short week, had that 33-14 win on Monday Night Football over the New England Patriots. Dallas's bye week is next week, so does that add any extra emphasis and make this more important, Falzon?
Not necessarily. I think Justin Fields holding onto the ball against the Dallas Cowboys pass rush is a disaster waiting to occur. Yeah. Justin Fields has been the most sacked QB 27 times this season, and the Dallas Cowboys have 29 sacks in the season as of this moment. Justin Fields also holds the ball at an average time of 3.46 seconds. That would make it the longest average time to throw in the NFL. The guy lined up across him, Micah Parsons, has accounted for the 3rd fastest time to pressure with 2.21 seconds.
Wow. Nick, give me some keys of the game to winning this one this weekend.
Absolutely. We have to. Zeke did look a little banged up last week, but I would say we have to run the ball as well as take advantage of. I feel like we can push the ball through the air as well. Now, you like numbers. I know you do. I know you do. The Chicago Bears did just lose Robert Quinn in a trade to the Eagles. Numbers were down this year, but he averages, like, on his career, 9 sacks. And just last year, 2021, he had 18.5 sacks for that team. So that's an important part of their team, although he was not looking great this year. It's an important loss, so I feel like we should take advantage of the lack of pass rush and just a defender on the team.
Well, we'll see if the Cowboys can keep the momentum rolling this weekend as they take on the Chicago Bears. Make sure to catch that one on Sunday at noon. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the World Series and the finale to the baseball season. Stay with us.
When I heard that she had a tumor, everything just became dark. When I came to St. Jude, I started to get back some light in my life.
On top of first class, best care, you will never receive a bill, so that you can zoom in and just focus on this child. The only thing we had to worry about was just keeping Azalea comfortable. St. Jude saved her life, and it saved us as a family.
Every child deserves a future. Every last child. That's why we do whatever it takes to ensure children grow up healthy, learning, and safe. Right here in the US and around the world, just as we have for nearly 100 years. When it comes to children, we know that even the smallest act can make a big difference. By changing children's lives now, we're changing the course of their futures and ours. Join us.
Make-A-Wish grants a wish every 17 minutes. I know that sounds pretty magical, but in fact, it takes more than magic. It takes muscle.
So, when a kid like Fabian wishes to be a superstar, things happen. Whoa!
Or when Kahim transforms into Super Kahim. He feels invincible. It's because wishes have proven physical and emotional benefits that can give children with critical illnesses a higher chance of survival.
Help us make sure every wish comes true. Join us at wish.org.
The Fall Classic is finally here as the 2022 World Series gets underway tomorrow night between the Philadelphia Phillies and Houston Astros. And here to preview it all are analysts Brandon Brunworth and Amanda Malini. Guys, these are two of the most star-studded lineups and pitching staffs and bullpens in all of the MLB. Brandon, who has the edge in this series?
You have to say the Astros, I think. I mean, when you talk about a team that had that many regular season wins and just look at, I mean, they haven't lost in the postseason yet. So I think you have to say the Astros. But I would still maybe put the manager edge to the Phillies for the job he's done so far.
Maybe.
Okay, now that you say for what he's done so far, I guess I have to agree with you because since Joe Girardi's departure, he's really stepped up and really been able to turn this whole team around. But I think that the Astros do have the edge. I think it's really hard to argue with somebody like Yordan Alvarez, who just hits absolute dingers all the time. I think people tend to look over, the right fielder of the Houston Astros, Kyle Tucker, who is successfully flown under the radar despite being a finalist for Gold Glove and Silver Slugger both. So I really think that the Astros have the edge, and I mean, clearly they're the better team going into the postseason. So. Yeah.
And obviously, Jose Altuve is still the man in Houston, of course, for the Astros. Now let's talk Astros first. As you mentioned, Brandon, still undefeated this postseason, 106 wins for that team in the regular season. What makes them so hard to beat, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, it's just that lineup. I mean, it's look at that last Yankees game. It's they don't strike out at all, and then on top of that, they have the pitching to where if you don't capitalize on a mistake, you can't ever catch up to the Astros.
Like you said, you look at that last Yankees game in the CS, 17 strikeouts between the two teams, 15 of them were the Yankees, and only twice did the Astros strike out. Besides that, you're really looking at a team that knows how to play the long game more so than anything. They're not hitting home runs left and right. They're stringing hits along and driving runs in.
Well, it's the experience of it all, too. They've been here so many times now. This is a team that's not afraid of this moment.
And it seems like every single year they beat the Yankees, which the country has to like that. I know the country doesn't love the Astros, but you got to love that. Now let's talk about this Phillies team. They win the NL as a 6th seed, actually had the worst record of any playoff team this season, with 87 regular season wins. Is this, Brandon, what has been the biggest key to Philadelphia's success this postseason?
I mean, so first off, I think you have to mention the manager, which I did earlier. I mean, you look at how he closed out the championship game. It was 4 different relievers for 4 different wins. He's making great decisions. And then you have Bryce Harper, 419 batting average in the postseason, which is just absurd. I think you have to have the Astros bat around him a little bit. And then on top of that, you got Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, who are just, Zach Wheeler has a 1.74 ERA in the postseason. They're pitching out of their minds right now. Everybody's kind of playing out of their minds on the Phillies right now. It's all coming together.
And Bryce Harper and Rhys Hopkins both with 5 home runs this postseason as well. Amanda, what has been the biggest key to their success?
I think the key to their success hasn't even been Bryce Harper. I think it's been Kyle Schwarber in that leadoff spot. Sure. I think it's been Kyle Schwarber from the beginning of this postseason. He spent time with the Red Sox, the Cubs, that 2016 team with the Cubs. Yeah. He's really shown that he can lead this team to this moment and not back down from challenge and make sure that these guys are well prepared for what's ahead of them. Yeah,
Kyle Schwarber, definitely a guy with a lot of postseason experience, obviously with those Cubs teams and Red Sox teams. Brandon, is this Philadelphia team the team of destiny? They've had this Cinderella run, so it kind of seems like they have to be.
You have to say so, right? I mean, are they potentially the Braves of last year, right? Which is what you have to see, and we're about to find out, because for that reason, it feels like must win for the Astros to me,
It's got to be if you want to solidify the Astros as a dynasty team, considering they've ran the AL now for the past 6 years. You gotta
finishing it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You gotta get all the way there across the finish line, or else you're just a bunch of
trash can beaters.
Oh boy. Now, Brandon, what do you think it's going to take for Philadelphia to actually pull off this upset?
First and foremost, you have to split one in Houston right away, set that tone that they're also undefeated at home. The Phillies are. So you need to have it needs to be 500 coming back to Philadelphia, I think, because also the other thing, that stadium's crazy. The noise that those Philadelphia fans make, I mean, it's just, the Astros do not want to go back there having the series be tied.
No. The Astros have played in 29 stadiums since the 2020 trash can scandal came out, and the only one they haven't played in is Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. And I went there this summer, and it is an electric stadium, and that's not even in playoff baseball. I don't even want to know what it's going to be like this upcoming weekend. So I think the Astros are going to be a little bit intimidated, or maybe face a little bit of a challenge there. But besides that, I think the Astros, they'll figure it out.
Philly fans are notorious for always bringing the energy, so it is certainly going to be a rocking series. Now let's get some MVP and obviously World Series winner picks. Brandon, who you got?
I got the Phillies in 6. I think they're really going to come out of the gates with that momentum that they've had and surprise everybody. And for MVP, I think it's going to be Bryce Harper. I think they're going to try to pitch around him as much as he can, but I mean, you're talking about a man possessed you know, I agree
It's
with
a
the
good way to
Schwarber
describe
pick,
him. Sure.
but without Harper doing what he's doing right now, there's no way that they're playing like they are in this postseason.
Who do you have, Amanda?
I've got the Astros in 6. Got to go with my hometown team. I think, like I said, they're going to reach a little bit of a problem in Philadelphia, and my MVP pick is going to be Kyle Tucker.
Wow. Well, I think this series goes the distance. I want to see a 7-game series, so I'm going to take the Astros in 7 games here. You mentioned Yordan Alvarez earlier, Amanda. He's kind of the most underrated player on this roster, I feel like, because he hits over 300, but teams don't talk about him.
Yeah.
Teams don't focus on him because of all the other players in that lineup. I think he wins the MVP trophy this year, and the Astros take it in 7 games. We'll have to see how it all plays out. The series gets underway tomorrow night at 7:03, the first pitch on Fox, so make sure to catch that one. Coming up next, the UNT Bowl of Takes. This is going to be fun. Stay with us.
Janet, it's nice seeing you again. You a good girl. Just let me know what I can do to help.
Well, to help me, she'd have to help every day. Every hour, every ouch, every time my wife calls for help. I mean, maybe she could help me make her lunch. But the crust, all the crust has to be cut off the corners. She could help me run to the doctor for the 5th time this week. Help me with the specialist and the second opinions and the painful paperwork about paperwork. Help me deal with how hard it is seeing my wife's name on so much paperwork. But this is on me. I'm the only one who can do this, like this, for her. Besides,
Take care.
we will. Janet doesn't like her cooking anyway.
Find support for your strength. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community.
Your voice, your vote. In our democracy, they matter and make our community and our country stronger. So make yours count. Get registered, learn the issues, know the candidates, and vote by or on November 3rd. Visit vote411.org for registration and election information. This message is furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Welcome back into Sports Zone. It's time for one of our favorite segments here on Sports Zone, the UNT Bowl of Takes. And here to do so, we have analysts Drew Maurer and Brandon Brown. Too many Brandons on this show, guys. Our first take, we have UNT head coach Seth Luttrell is going to return next season. What do you guys think of that?
Brandon, go ahead.
Oh my gosh, I hope not. It's hard to imagine this team really wanting to bring him back into a move into the CUSA, or the American, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think they're going to just completely reset, go with a new coaching staff, maybe keep the defensive coordinator, but everything else I think down to the wayside. Let's recycle it, get it out of here. Let's start fresh.
I like what you have to say there. I think a fresh start, a new regime coming in. Ani too. I think you're right. I don't really think there's any way that Luttrell's here at the end of the season, especially sitting at 4-4 currently. It's not like they're 8-0, right? So I think you're right. I think Luttrell probably isn't here after the season. A new start is probably good.
And you know something, if they get Luttrell out of here, fan base is going to go way up. I'm telling you. Get him out. Get him out.
Guys, calm down a little bit because it's all fun and games until UNT wins Conference USA this year. Just saying. We'll see if Seth returns next season. Now, this next take, guys, this is a good one. UNT needs a baseball team to be considered a sports school. What do you guys think of that?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, a baseball team would make a lot of sense here. Currently, I believe we just have a club, but that would probably, bring a little bit more in. We have a softball team. Why don't we have a baseball team, right? I understand the participation factor, but bringing in a baseball team as well as other factors, I think we could really boost the fan base, like Brandon was saying.
You know, I want to believe that because I love baseball too. My Astros are in the World Series. Let's go. I would really love to see a UNT baseball team, but we just don't have enough of a fan base right now. Like we can barely fill Apogee when we go and play football games. We can't really get people in seats for the Super Pit when UNT plays their basketball. As fun as that sounds, I just don't think it's doable right now.
Well, UNT actually used to have a baseball team up until 1994 when they disbanded it in favor of the softball team, and we obviously love our softball team with all the success that they've been having. Now, guys, we're going to switch gears here. UNT football. Okay. UNT football is a good team despite the last 2 seasons. What do you guys think?
That's a tough question. I'm leaving that to you.
They've got a lot of things working for them. I think they've had a pretty good wideout group, running back group is really great. Really like what I see from there. And their defense has had their moments, but all in all, I mean, if it doesn't come together collectively, you know, if we're 500 for the seasons, are we really that good or are we just mediocre?
Right, I agree. I think at this point we're a basketball school, right? We've had so much success in that. And in football, we've been consistently making bowl games with like 6, 7 wins. I mean, that's not winning football. Sure, you're going 500, but it's not winning football. It's not a winning recipe. I think, like you said earlier, I think a new regime is needed, and maybe that'll help out a little bit. Just getting the new cycle in, getting a lot of freshmen, that'll help out moving to the conference as well. But currently, I don't really think so.
Now, speaking of UNT basketball, this next take is about our UNT basketball team, who gets going 2 Mondays from now. So stay tuned for that. Tyler Perry will win CUSA Player of the Year.
It's a good one. Oh man.
Maybe.
Throw some curveballs at us. Oh man. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's very possible. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna say yes. Tyler Perry is gonna win. He's finally gonna get the starting role. Last few years, he's coming off the bench in a 6-man's position. I think now that he's starting and now that he embraces his role as leader of the team, it's very possible that he does win Conference USA Player of the Year. And like I said, I'm rolling with the take. I'm saying he's going to win the Conference USA Player of the Year.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice with you. I'm going to agree with you. I'm wearing the UNT hat.
I like it.
I'm going to support my home school. Tyler Perry's a beast. I love him. He's going to win CUSA Player of the Year.
Now, I would argue that he should have won it last year, but Jelly Walker had a great season for UAB, so can't argue with that. 2 really good guys there. Now, back to UNT football. Next year, we mentioned the move to the American Conference.
Sure.
The take is UNT will compete in the American Conference in football. What do you guys think?
Not at first.
I don't think so at first. Yeah, I mean, like we've said this whole block, I think the new regime is needed, and I probably think they're going to just start fresh and wipe it out. So in that regard, it's going to be a tough first year. In fact, we may not even make a bowl game. I think as it currently stands anyway, I mean, the overall competition gets so much harder in Conference USA, and we did already play
especially football too.
Right.
Like I always thought this move was more for basketball.
It definitely is.
Because we definitely can compete basketball.
Right.
If that was a basketball
Absolutely.
question, I'm like, yeah,
no question.
hands down.
But we've lost to two AAC teams this year. I mean, is it going to change, right? Like,
I don't think so. I think we're way down
Yeah,
here
I
for just a
agree.
little bit, you know.
I want to sneak one more in here, guys.
Okay.
Austin Ani, UNT quarterback, will end up in the NFL. Whether it's drafted or undrafted, he's going to the NFL. What do you guys think?
Ready to go.
He's undrafted on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh,
Jalen Gordon
boy.
puts in a
The
good
next
word.
coming
they
of
get
Tom
him.
Brady. Let's go.
I'm going to say I think he'll probably land on a practice squad somewhere. He's got the arm. He's got the talent. There's you see guys who are older and who get chances in the NFL, like Taylor Heineke. I mean, obviously he's not 30
no
years
Taylor
old,
Heineke,
right?
yeah.
But he's no Taylor Heineke. But it's very possible that Austin Ani lands on a practice squad somewhere or something like that.
Well, that's all for us here on Sportszone. Thanks for tuning in, as always. Make sure to catch us next Tuesday and Thursday at 5:30 here on North Texas Television, and stay tuned for NTTV News coming up next.
Hey, look, it's those guys.
What's up? What's happening today?
Let's do those pearly whites, man.
Yeah. Boys, check it.